When I would go for modelling jobs, I'd take my camera with me and get a little bit of advice. I'd worked for lots of magazines and papers, and then I started doing TV commercials. Then one day, my agent phoned and said that I got a part in the Beatles film, but it was very secret and I wasn't to tell anyone. So it was really exciting. The Beatles were incredibly polite and charming. George was very sweet and I thought he was quite shy, like me. I think that's why we got on initially.
Beneath the glittering surface of 1960s London, a love story was unfolding that changed the course of rock history. At its center stood Pattie Boyd, a young model whose ethereal beauty captivated not one, but two of the greatest guitarists of all time. As Boyd celebrates her 80th birthday, the veil of secrecy surrounding her relationships with George Harrison and Eric Clapton has finally been lifted. The swinging 60s and meeting George Harrison. The vibrant energy of 1960s London pulsed through the streets, and at its epicenter was a young model named Pattie Boyd. With her long, straight blonde hair and striking almond-shaped eyes, Boyd embodied the spirit of the era. Her rise to prominence in the fashion world was swift, gracing magazine covers and becoming a muse for renowned photographers like David Bailey and Terence Donovan. In 1964, fate intervened when Boyd, then 19, was cast as a schoolgirl extra in the Beatles' debut film A Hard Day's Night. Little did she know this small role would alter the course of her life. On set, she caught the eye of the quiet Beatle, George Harrison. The attraction was immediate and intense. Harrison, smitten by Boyd's beauty and charm, boldly asked her to marry him on their first meeting. Taken aback by his forwardness, Boyd declined, citing a pre-existing relationship. But the spark between them couldn't be denied. As Boyd reflected on meeting Harrison while filming A Hard Day's Night, she recalled, quote, "When we finished filming that day, I thought I'd never see George again. Remember, this was before cell phones. By this time, of course, I had told my boyfriend that it was the end of our relationship. When I saw George, the first thing he said was, 'How's your boyfriend?' And I said, 'Well, I don't have a boyfriend.'" When she and Harrison crossed paths again during a photo shoot, the stars aligned. This time, Boyd was free to accept his invitation to dinner, marking the beginning of their whirlwind romance. The courtship was a blur of excitement set against the backdrop of Beatlemania. Boyd found herself thrust into a world of screaming fans, secret rendezvous, and the dizzying heights of fame. Despite the chaos, she and Harrison forged a deep connection, bonding over their shared interests in Eastern spirituality and the burgeoning counterculture movement. On January 21st, 1966, Boyd and Harrison tied the knot in a private ceremony at a registry office in Surrey. The wedding was a closely guarded secret to avoid a media frenzy, with even Boyd's closest friends left in the dark. This need for secrecy was a harbinger of the challenges that lay ahead in their life together. As a Beatles wife, Boyd found herself at the heart of the Cultural Revolution. She influenced the band's exploration of meditation and Indian spirituality, accompanying them on their famous trip to Rishikesh. Her fashion sense and free-spirited nature made her an icon in her own right, inspiring countless young women to embrace the liberated ethos of the swinging 60s. Enter Eric Clapton. As the 60s drew to a close, the harmonious melody of George and Pattie Harrison's relationship began to face discord. Enter Eric Clapton, the virtuoso guitarist and close friend of George. Clapton had long admired Pattie from afar, captivated by her beauty and gentle spirit. What began as a respectful admiration soon blossomed into an all-consuming infatuation that shook the foundations of their tightly knit social circle. Clapton's feelings for Pattie intensified, evolving into a passionate obsession that he could no longer contain. In a bold and controversial move, he confessed his love to Pattie through an emotionally charged letter. The contents of this missive later inspired one of rock's most iconic love songs, Layla. The raw emotion and longing in Clapton's words left Pattie conflicted, torn between her loyalty to George and the undeniable pull of Clapton's ardent pursuit. The situation came to a head at a party hosted by Robert Stigwood, where Clapton confronted George about his feelings for Pattie. In a surreal twist, George's response was surprisingly calm, almost nonchalant. He suggested Pattie choose between them, a proposition that left both Pattie and onlookers stunned. This moment marked a turning point in the complex triangle, blurring the lines between friendship, love, and loyalty. As Clapton's pursuit intensified, so did the strain on Pattie and George's marriage. The once solid foundation of their relationship began to crack under the weight of George's increasing spiritual detachment and Clapton's relentless advances. Pattie found herself at the center of an emotional tug-of-war, her affections divided between the man she had pledged her life to and the man who promised her a passionate new beginning. Clapton's feelings for Pattie became the driving force behind his music during this period. The album, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs, recorded with his band Derek and the Dominoes, was a thinly veiled chronicle of his longing for Pattie. The title track, Layla, with its haunting guitar riff and pleading lyrics, became an anthem of unrequited love, immortalizing Clapton's desire for Pattie in rock history. The tension between the three reached a fever pitch, with Pattie caught in an impossible position. She was deeply affected by Clapton's passionate declarations, but remained committed to her marriage with George. The situation was further complicated by George's own infidelities and his increasing immersion in spirituality, which often left Pattie feeling neglected. As the 70s progressed, the delicate balance between the trio continued to shift. Pattie's resolve was tested repeatedly as she navigated the waters of her marriage to George and the persistent temptation presented by Clapton. A life between two rock legends. The chaotic love triangle reached its breaking point in the mid-70s. After years of emotional turmoil and marital strain, Pattie and George's relationship finally crumbled. Their divorce in 1977 marked the end of a union that had once seemed unbreakable, leaving both parties emotionally scarred but ultimately free to pursue new paths. In the wake of her separation from Harrison, Pattie found herself drawn into the arms of Eric Clapton. The guitarist's unwavering devotion had finally worn down her defenses, and the two started a passionate relationship that led to marriage in 1979. For Clapton, it was the culmination of a long-held dream, while for Pattie, it represented a chance at renewed happiness and love. But life with Clapton proved to be far from a fairy tale ending. While their early years together were filled with romance and creative collaboration, Clapton's struggles with alcoholism and infidelity soon began to take their toll. Pattie found herself once again in a relationship marked by emotional upheaval and uncertainty. Despite the challenges, Pattie's influence on both Harrison and Clapton's music remained profound. She'd been the muse behind some of their most enduring works. Harrison's tender ballad, Something, was written in her honor. And the gentle Wonderful Tonight from Eric Clapton was a direct tribute to her beauty and presence in his life. As the years passed, Pattie's relationship with both Harrison and Clapton evolved. Her marriage to Clapton ended in 1989, but she maintained a connection with both of her former husbands. In a twist of fate that spoke to the complexity of their intertwined lives, Harrison and Clapton rekindled their friendship, finding common ground in their shared experiences and mutual respect. Reflecting on her true love, Boyd shared, quote, "I think George, he was always very loving. Even after we split, he was always my friend. We'd still speak on the phone, and he came to see me before he died. If you love somebody, you do that, and I think he always loved me." Reflection at 80. As Pattie approached her 80th birthday, she found herself in a reflective mood, looking back on an extraordinary life. In interviews and her memoir, she opened up about the complexities of her relationships with these two rock icons. And with the passage of time, she'd come to terms with the pain of her past. She spoke of forgiveness, both for herself and for the two men who had hurt her. Now it's time to hear from you. What modern-day celebrity love triangle comes close to the complexity of the Pattie, George, Eric story? Let us know in the comments section below.